What's up, everybody? Welcome to At a Glance, where I give you an appetizer sampler glimpse into a particular faction in 40k. The whole idea is to help you decide if this is something you want to pursue on your own and perhaps get into and collect, be it your first army or your second, third, fourth, whatever. So this time, looking at the Farsight Enclaves of the Tau Codex. Now, Commander Farsight of the Firecast leads the Farsight Enclaves. It's an independent branch of Tau, essentially. Its own little mini empire that is separate and independent from the Tau Empire. And the Tau Empire does not like that. But before I get to that, let's look at the beginning. Farsight was the hero of the Tau Empire. The people loved him. He was a brilliant commander. He was very strong-willed. And it got to the point where the Ethereal Cast was beginning to grow wary of his particularly strong will. And that brings up a whole other topic I could ramble about at a separate time. But essentially, his strong will is noted by the Ethereal Cast. And eventually, during his expedition, he had a horrendous battle in which the Ethereal Cast members that were in his expedition were killed. And typically when that happens and the expedition survives the battle and everything, they're supposed to return back to Tau Empire space and do whatever it is they gotta do. Farsight pressed on. He pressed on, and this is really the beginning of the Farsight Enclaves. He pursued his own little crusade, his own little expeditionary campaign, attacking the orcs, pressing forward, doing what he's doing, and eventually moved beyond Tau's communication range, and never responded to any communications. Messenger probes were sent out, nothing was responded to, and thus the Tau Empire thought he was killed off and his expedition was destroyed, and they gave proper heroes honors and everything like that, and then the Tau Empire moved on. But they eventually rediscovered Farsight, and he was leading these planets. He had these Farsight Enclaves, these independent Tau, which is a very selfish thing, a very anti-Tau, greater good philosophy. And to the Tau Empire, specifically the Ethereals, Farsight was a traitor. He cast off the ideals of the greater good. He's now selfish, thinking of himself, doing things independently of the Empire, and that's a big no-no. Commander Shadowsun vows to bring him to justice, and whenever the Farsight Enclave forces are spotted in Tau space for whatever reason, or near Tau space, they are mobilized against in kind of a show of force type of thing. There has been no actual confrontations between the two forces, no actual fighting between the Farsight Enclaves or the Tau Empire, and that would kind of be a really big unprecedented thing to happen. It would be unprecedented because the Tau was the Tau Empire. They never had a fight against their own kind at this level, since they're binding together as a species. So it's an interesting concept. It's an interesting plot hook that is there. There's the capability to have a horse heresy style of event happen with the Tau, but the Tau Empire doesn't go and attack the Farsight Enclaves, and the Farsight Enclaves still believe in the greater good. They pursue it their own way. They're free of ethereal control, essentially. There's no ethereal cast there. I don't know if there's any water cast either, but there's earth, air, and fire cast for sure. So the Farsight Enclave still pursue the greater good, but they do it their own way with their own agenda, you could say. Farsight still brings his forces to the aid of Tau that need it, and he's kind of still a whispered about people's champion, in a way, of the Tau. He goes to the aid of them, he fights the enemies of the Tau, and basically he's doing the greater good stuff, but only he does it his own way, and that's the big no-no. He still has his symbol for the greater good on his battlesuit's chest plate, so it's not like he's abandoned that. And it's not like he is the equivalent of Traitor Guard or Traitor Marines. He's not actively trying to bring about the end of the Tau Empire. He is basically avoiding them and doing his own thing. And he has respect for Anva and for the greater good and the expeditionary forces that are out there for the Tau Empire. So it's an interesting setup. Now, Farsight has sympathizers and even defectors from the Tau Empire in his force. The bulk of his technology and his war equipment and stuff is dated, a bit aged, works just fine. Like I said, he does have Earthcast there, but they're older marks and stuff of battle suits and stealth suits and things of that nature. However, to the dismay of the Ethereals, he also has pretty much all the latest and greatest. Probably not in the same numbers as the Tau Empire, but he has Riptides. He has modern broadside suits and crisis suits. He has the modern stealth suits. He has all the modern technology of Tau. And, you know, the thought is maybe some spies and some stealing has been going on, but also what has been going on is sympathizers and defectors, supplying them with technology and equipment, or defecting over with their force, their battle force, and becoming part of the Farsight Enclaves. So bringing more military members, plus technology and blueprints, to help keep Tau of the Farsight Enclave in the technological sphere, you know, keeping them up to date. So that's also pretty interesting and important to note, because there's no real need to worry about restrictions to place on yourself if you want to collect Farsight Enclaves in terms of Tau technology. Their color scheme is what I call a deeper red. It's not like a blood red, and it's not a really dark red, but it's darker than your standard red, you could say. I call it a deep red, with a gray. And I really like the way the colors play together. They look really nice next to each other. It just works very well. Their symbol is different from any other Tau symbol, but when you overlay the greater good symbol, the classic Tau symbol over it, there are some similarities which I find interesting. So Farsight has his own symbol, and obviously their own color scheme. The interesting thing is, if you want to really go full tilt for collecting Farsight Enclave and you want to represent Fire Warrior squads and whatnot, they make shoulder pads. It's like a kit or a little bundle, a blister type thing you can buy of 12 shoulder pads. You know, they're not the most expensive things out there, but they're not exactly like free either. You know, so it's extra money you have to spend if you want to go full tilt for Farsight Enclave. Me personally, I would go pure Battlesuit Force, which I'll get into in a moment. So I wouldn't need to purchase that, but if you want Fire Warriors to have Farsight symbol, that's what you would need to do, is get those shoulder pads. It's not a necessity, it's just an added nice touch. Along with that, if you have, well, not if, but when you have battle suits and vehicles, those kits have transfer sheets in there that include Farsight Enclave symbols, so you're good to go on that regard. Now, with that being said, collecting Farsight Enclave in terms of models and units, especially if you take Commander Farsight as your HQ, because you don't have to play Farsight Enclave. There's a little bit of a misconception there for the casual observers that to play Farsight Enclave you have to have Farsight lead your force. And he's a cool HQ, but it's not a necessity. But if he is, he has a rule where you cannot be included with Ethereals or Commander Shadowsun. It's a rule. You have to follow it. But when you don't use Farsight and you use a generic Chasseur, for example, you should still follow that. No Ethereals, no Commander Shadowsun, and I personally would stay away from auxiliaries. It used to be a restriction where you couldn't have any in the previous edition of the Codex, so I still follow that, because it really is described as being a set of Tau colony worlds, the Farsight Enclave, so nothing but Tau units, you could say, and drones. But that's part of Tau tech, so that makes sense. So that's the restrictions you would need for the Tau Codex, but all you really need is the Tau Codex. And kit-wise, anything that's Tau, so obviously no Ethereal, no Shadowsun models, and no auxiliary kits, but all the rest of it, which is the bulk of the Tau forces, you can make use of. Riptides, the Flyer, vehicle kits, battle suits, whatever, you can all make use of that. Now, the supplement book, Farsight Enclaves, is purposely built to help you further represent the Farsight Enclaves in a force, and it's 100% recommended, but I don't feel it's a necessity, right? Because all it's including is some extra special rules to make it feel more Farsight Enclave-ish, and replacing the signature system list in the Tau Codex with their own signature system list to help you get more of a unique feel. But that's about it. Farsight's in the Tau Codex. Yeah, it mentions the 8, which is his commanders, and the only reason I'm bringing that up is because they're not necessarily special characters. They're named, they have a name. It's like if you named your sergeant or your exarch in your force. It doesn't make him a special character, he's named. Now, there are some little quirks that some of the 8 have that normally you wouldn't be able to do, but that's neither here nor there in terms of being a special character. They don't have a unique stat line, they don't have a unique point cost, and they don't have any unique type of special rule stuff. The way you would represent them is going, hey, I like Sub-Commander Torch Star, so I'm going to go take a Chasseur or whatever she is, and I'm going to equip her the same way it says she's equipped, and then I have her in my force. But she's not a unique special character in any way, shape, or form in terms of how special characters are in codices. Hopefully that made sense. But anyways, obviously I recommend the Farsight Enclaves book. It's good for more fluff, it's good to help you really personalize your force, and if you want to play Battle Forge but want a pure battlesuit list, Farsight Enclave is the only way to go for that, because that lets you do that. But if you're not really caring about all that, you just need the Tau Codex and you'll be fine. Anyways, with that being said, just keep the idea of no ethereals, no shadow sun, and no auxiliaries in mind, and then the rest of the Tau kits are yours to use as you want, and units are there to use as you want. So a pretty easy thing to collect, not too many restrictions you have to keep in mind, remember, or impose on yourself. But anyways, that's it for the Farsight Enclaves. I enjoy them. Maybe you will too, if you're interested in them at all. Anyways, that's it for this edition of At a Glance. Thanks for sticking through it. If you have any requests, questions, comments, post them in the comment section, and I'll get to them as best I can. Anyways, that's it. So until next time, take it easy.